So, hi everyone. We're here with Phil from Crafty Bear, and Fergal from Dublin City has gone for a drink, so he'll be joining us in a minute. We seem to be having a little bit of trouble today because I also have a thing from, we might have a little bit of trouble with 4 provinces as well, but we'll just try and see what we can do. We pull everybody up here so that we're all on screen together. Okay, so the plan today, for anybody who's been here, is that we basically we're just having a chat. We're having a chat about beer, about just about everything brewing that comes out of it. We don't have a set plan. We're just doing it and seeing what happens. You will see there's a little hands thing at the bottom of your screen, so you can come up and we can get you up on stage and you can come and ask questions, get involved. Please do, because the more people get involved, the better. And that's basically it. So we're just waiting for Fergal to come back, but Phil is here. So Phil, apologies everyone. I'm just getting messages here from 4 provinces, so I just have to check them out. I don't think I can do much for him, so we'll just have him. But that's like, yeah. Oh God, yeah. Sorry, 4 provinces is up here. Let me just put that over here. So okay. So Phil here is from Crafty Bear. We might as well just have a chat with you. You've been brewing now for how many years?
Since 2018. So we're touching over 3 years now. Touching 4 shortly. Kicked it off in January 2018 it was a kind of a side project. I was working full time, and it was a hobby that kind of got out of control that I wanted to try to fulfill. And yeah, we kicked it off, and it kind of was one of those things that kind of escalated from one stage to the next, and here we are today.
Before you knew it, you were professional.
Before we knew it, yeah, we're head over heels in debt. No, but like, yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
But did it start off as like home brewing and just go from there?
Yeah, so I've been homebrewing for years. I live on the outskirts of the city, so it was expensive to get into town. So homebrewing became a thing where we'd brew at home and kind of have more of a party at home than go out because it was cheaper.
Right.
And just progressed from kit to partial to full mash, and eventually got to the stage where the results were becoming, better than the commercial beers. Some of the craft beers that I was drinking, I realized that I was able to get better results by doing it in my kitchen. Just kind of, it intrigued me. And having the wedding in, they allowed me to put on my beer on tap, which was nice. And once I saw the reaction, and I saw people drink a lot of it very fast, it was a quick indication that, maybe this is something that I should try. I went to safe route at the beginning. I went IPA. IPA was one of those beers which I love. First alcoholic beer I had, and it just became a thing where it's like, okay, we'll start with IPA. I like West Coast, so we were only back from the States after a holiday. Fell in love with a load of different beers over there, and I said, okay, we'll give it a go and see where that takes us. And that was the first flagship beer that we did, and that one became so popular for sales that we had to brew so much of it that we couldn't afford to brew any other beers. So all the money was tied up with just replenishing the IPA. So with the wait, it took, I think it was nearly a full year before we brewed a second beer.
All right. I suppose it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, like at the time it was a great problem to have. Like it would be great now to look back and go, okay, if you have 4 or 5 core beers within the year, but look, it was one of those things that we didn't expect to kind of be an issue, and a good issue that it was. So yeah. Okay,
so now you do your IPA, you do your red.
So
coming back, and these all.
Yeah, we have a few at the moment that are continuing. There is a pale ale and a lager, which are going to be replenished in the coming months. And then we're moving into stout, which is next. Hopefully the stout we will look at probably next week or the week after.
Right.
And it's just trying to keep the core range kind of constantly replenished. And with being so small and with the bars and stuff closing down, we were very pub restaurant orientated at the beginning.
Right.
And now we kind of have to
add to that little thing. I just did a stout after 30 odd years of doing another stout for somebody else. But stouts are never easy to do.
No.
Just difficult little buggers. There's so many nuances in it. It just doesn't. It's and it's difficult. So I wouldn't. But that's my point. Is don't worry about it, if you know what I mean, because it's going to be a journey.
Yeah.
It won't happen the first time or the second time, and may not happen. But what you learn every time, what your perspective is. But then, if you ask anybody, and you asking a committee to give their opinion on it, it can be too much. And then other people say it's too little, and then it gets into this complicated story. Anyway, good luck with the stout. And are you aiming low in ABV? Or are you going up?
I'm going up 7. I'm going
Wow.
to go 7 and keep it in 330s because the red is 8. So I'm going to start working my way back down again. IPA is 6, lagers 4.5.
7 will disguise a few things.
This is the thing, yeah. So fingers crossed, if we don't nail it the first time, there'll be something in the background there to.
It won't go to waste, but just learn from it is the key. You know what I mean? It's getting a 7%er, you can do a lot of knowledge gathering stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am sorry, my video is killing me because it's all slow, but don't worry about that. I'm in time with the voice. It's okay. I think it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we can hear you. That's all fine. I'm sorry. 1 second. I have Brendan here who wants to ask a question, so I'm just going to bring him back up here. You can join in.
Are we having a little sampleini?
We will now. We will. We're just going to
tell me
when. Wants to have a chat here with us first, and then we'll start on a little sample of your.
Well, I say whoever wants to go first, as they say.
It's okay, Brendan.
Did you definitely go with the lager first with an 8% red?
All right, we'll definitely. Well, we have 3 lagers anyway. So how's Brendan?
Brendan's good. Cheers. Yeah.
Are you in a bed, Brendan?
Do you know what? It's so sad on a Saturday afternoon. I'm in bed with a cup of tea. I had Miami J earlier, and I'm just sitting down now and coming on to listen to you guys for an hour. But I was interested to know from Phil. He started in 2018 though, so it's there's a lot of breweries up and running. How hard was it for you to make that jump from your previous job into commercial brewing? Getting started and getting the brand out there.
It was for me actually. It wasn't so hard as you would expect because the company that I worked for was a chain of bars, restaurants, hotels, nightclubs. So I managed to sweet talk them into allowing me to supply a lot of their premises originally. And through the jigs and the reels, they kind of went, yeah, sure. And before they knew it, within a couple of months, every premises that they had was flooded with Crafty Bear IPA. So for me, that network helped. I'm sure it would be a lot different if I was starting from scratch. So I did get a helping hand there with that. But I'm solely contract still at the moment, so I haven't taken the jump to buy a brewery as of yet. So there's a few areas there that kind of have helped and has helped me maintain things while things are a bit wild out there,
Yeah. So where do you contract?
So I'm with the guys in Third Barrel.
Oh, Kevin and all that. Yeah.
Kevin, the lads. Yeah. So with them now since day one. And it's been great. As I said, they're very, very positive kind of guys. You want to do something, they'll either talk you out of it or talk you into even more trouble. And you kind of just go at it and, hash it out, recipe together. And
Sorry, Brendan, just talking over there, but Fergal has managed to join us. You had a little bit of difficulty there, Fergal.
Yeah, my iPad, I wouldn't sorry about that. Sorry about being late.
No problem at all. Good to have you. So we were just kind of going over what we're doing is just having a chat. Basically, we're going to use the beers as kind of a jumping off point. So feel free to jump over each other and to just go wherever the thing takes us, which has worked quite well for the last couple of weeks. We've ended up on some interesting tangents and that. So maybe what we did have as a plan today. I don't know if Brendan wants to stay up here with us. Was as a team was that we were just going to look at lagers because I think I don't know, you can tell me whether you agree or disagree, but lagers tend to get, in my opinion, probably done as they probably don't get the respect that they probably should have in the craft world compared to, say, IPAs and all that. Like, they tend to be almost dismissed. Would you agree with it, or is that?
Well, yeah, because I think it's an Irish thing as well. But generally, lagers are what were available that wasn't stout, and I think it's associated with the past and a very small selection of beers, and that kind of period where there wasn't great choice.
Yeah.
But like it's the funny thing about it is, it's probably my fellow my fellow brewers and brewery owners would attest to, is that a lager get right, and I think I just think a lot of the time when people start out in craft brewing, they'll brew an IPA for two reasons. Either one, obviously it's a very popular style and it's kind of synonymous with craft brewing, but B, when you use
Hey, you've got it here. Wait,
I have an interesting one today. Yeah, but that's what I was thinking, that like lagers, I mean, Phil, you can tell me, because you do a lager as well, you don't have it available at the moment, but like they strike me as being very technically, like Phil was or like Fergal was in there, you have to be very exact on them, because you if you get it wrong, you can mask an IPA because you can claim it was all the hops were doing this, or that was the intention. Yeah. A lager has to be very precise.
It does, yeah. You get the off flavors as well, so it is like I've done the lager the first time, and I was very happy with the lager the very first time we did it. But definitely, there's changes there I would want to do, to learn from the last time to improve it. But I've done lagers at home as well where I've kind of I've botched it, and sulfur and off flavors from the malt or the kettle kind of come through with the lack of I suppose the hop profile for a lot of lagers. So it's much harder to mask indeed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Fergal, maybe we should have a look at your you have Liberator, isn't it?
That's one of them, yeah. That's the one you have anyway, I think.
Yeah.
That's a light lager. Hard to do, as they were just discussing, in the context of all the things that can go wrong. But my description of this is to be more of a lay brewing description. This is the type of lager you're going to drink to satisfy your thirst. Okay, it's not asking you to do anything else. It's a summer's day. You're out in the flip flops, shorts, out in the back garden, and you're thirsty. And this lager is designed to do that. You're not in your Dublin 4 pub talking up Prague about the time you visited with your girlfriend and Star Pravin and Pilsner Urquells were the greatest things you ever had, but you can only drink them standing up in a fine glass in a fine pub. This is a lager that causes you just one thing to do: session drink, sit back, let it do what it's asked to do, not ask you to think about it, and just say, "Ooh, wow, that's refreshing. That's a taste that gives me a little bit of a tingle, little sweetness at the front, and just a tiny hop character just to balance out that sweetness at the back of the throat." So that's my definition of this. It's got Hallertau Pearl, it's got Irish malt, and it's a light lager. It has a 5-week fermentation cycle, so it can condition. Well, that allows itself to condition at the right temperature. But feedback, anybody? But to me, it's just it just hits that sort of refreshment zone. That's all.
What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely the flip flops out in the sun in the garden. It's a great way of describing it if we had the weather in Ireland. Otherwise, you're out in the pissing rain. But it's definitely a lot more beer.
Maybe Phil, you've come in from that run, or you've been off that bike. You just been, you know, I mean, you're throwing yourself a bit, got a bit of sweat up, doesn't matter whether the sun's out, but this is the one to.
Yeah, within. Yeah.
And lagers are like that in general. You know, I mean, they're not necessarily supposed to be somebody actually asking you to think about it. We might, if you go into the brewing world of, this is a specific product to help you satisfy what it's supposed to do, the thirst piece. And second of all, is just allow you to, you know, just maybe have 2 or 3. And you know what I mean? Whereas if you get into the IPAs and double IPAs and hazies and sours and God knows what, you're never going to do the 2 or 3. You're going to be, well, you know, it's hard work. Yeah. In lots of ways. It can be fun, but it's also, you know, but with a lager like this, it's a product that helps us, you know, have a beer, enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the environment you're in. You can have 2 or 3, and that's from a brewing commercial point of view is critical because we want volume. I mean, you've got to have people pick up the liquid from the stores. We've got to sell it, and 7 out of every 10 products is a lager anyway. From a beer point of view, virtually every market across the world, it's yellow beer, blonde beer, whatever you want to do. So you've got to fit the mold, and this is what being brewing is about: is finding what your consumers want, all that sort of stuff. They for the couple of tins like this during the match, just perfect. You know what I mean? Okay, ace opportunity. So it's easy. I don't know. Have you got it there, Brian, yourself, or
I don't have it with me at the moment. But yeah, I know what you mean about it. It's
and then this nice sweetness. Phil, you got the sweetness coming through? Do you get it?
There's a small bit of sugar at the front, yeah. Like it's. I'm loving the kind of the slight malty grain after finish, you know. So the sweetness is complementing the slight bit of dryness that comes. It's definitely a very sessionable beer.
Yeah,
I have to say.
That's you know, the opportunity we understood was needed for us and our journey as a just startup brewery as well, because we've got a big facility in Parnell Street. Sorry, I don't know. We should reverse back a little bit. I'm Fergal Murray, blah, 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 whoever's listening out. So how many people have we got online, Brian? Do you know?
We've got about 9 or 10 at the moment.
Well, just in case I don't know who we are or what we're looking for, James's Gate. Master brewer, traveled the world, did, you know, a wonderful career, wonderful opportunity to learn about making beer. You know, the place you're going to go and learn how to make beer is James's Gate. It's like if you want to get an education, go to Harvard or Yale or Oxford or Cambridge. I was lucky to get it up in James's Street. Became a consultant, blah, 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 helped a lot of independent craft brewers, got out of the big waste breweries all over the world, helping them understand various things, the technical, quality, marketing, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm working for Dublin City Brewing Company. We started out as a smaller independent brewery. Now it's going to be about 40,000 hectoliter brewery in the city centre. And it's on a journey. It's slowed down because of COVID, but we're getting it started enough. We've got a number of liquids being produced by a contract brewing facility. Got 5 or 6 recipes ready to roll when we get open. Liberator, our Irish lager, is the first one. So that's currently what I'm up to. And we've got 5 or 6 other ones around. I don't know if you've seen them on the market, but they're just slowly coming out into cans mainly. Very few, not much draft going on, as you know. But yeah. So welcome to come and visit the place, anybody, blah, 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 when we get going. And it's quite exciting to see a new brewery anyway. And it's in the city centre, so people can just, you know, come and have a little look, check it out. And I'm welcoming anybody to come and ask me any questions anytime anyway. So this is an open forum for you in Bois and you. I think we've met before a couple of times with various things, but now I have a formal place where you can come and visit and chat and welcome. Just you know, use me as an opportunity to get other people to learn about beer. Happy to be a forefront in that, and you know, and assist anybody on any of the opportunities they have.
That's very generous of you.
No, that's what we're together in the one boat here, lads. I mean,
well, that's what struck me, and that's what led to me kind of setting this thing up as a chat. Is that I could see, you know, the brewers are all. They all want to help each other. They're all in the same thing. There's no feeling that, you know, you might take market from me. It's like there's a big market out there, and there's plenty of market for loads of people.
Everybody's loads of space to get into. It's just, we're all together, and we can share it with each other. I'll tell you one thing I learned. I've done some beer judging, tasting across the world, different beers, and we should be extraordinarily proud of our entries into those competitions. For one reason, we're as good as any other market in the world. So the independent guys who've been working feverishly over the last 10 years, small brewers, doing whatever products they have done, those products, just to give you actual facts, are as good as any other market. Italian, French, German, American, whatever. Some of our beers that come out of the Irish brewing teams are amazing.
Yeah.
Nobody tells that story. So we fight among each other, or talk about each other, or we complain, or we do this in Ireland on our own little patch. But I'm telling you, some of the beers that some of these guys have been doing over the last 10 years are outstanding. So we need to raise the game a little bit. We don't do enough PR. There's definitely a gap. And Board Beer and Enterprise Island, all these people who talk about Green Island, whatever, they don't do enough for the Breer guys. Definitely don't help enough. So that's my little rant for today.
So it's it actually brings me to a question. I'm wondering about craft beer, and especially IPAs. People are the people who know craft beer and who like craft beer and are into craft beer. I kind of came up with this, or it kind of raised last week when we were discussing hops. They know the hops, they know what to look for, and they're kind of out looking for things. But to some extent, I wonder, do you think a lot of that is kind of alienating just the punter in the pub who wants like a lager or something, and then they see like there's 6 hops and you kind of wonder, do you have to know what the hops are, or is it at risk of kind of becoming this little niche that that just talks to itself? I know it's growing, but still, do you think there's any sort of kind of clique feeling around it?
Yeah, definitely. I find that, like, what I've noticed as well with the way the hops are going with IPAs, naturally IPAs, but one of my favorites, is that it's kind of like certain hops become in season. So, like, for me, like, I think October, November, December was very like a cashmere kind of hop, era. Like the clothing lines, what's in, what's not in. So, like, people kind of that are into their craft beers will know the hops, and unfortunately, I think that people are not so much up on the game with their craft beers just yet. Will fall to the kind of the wayside a little bit because they won't understand. They're all just names, I suppose, to some people.
Yeah.
They won't understand the effects of what the hop will do to the beer or the stout or the lager or whatever it is. So I think it's more. I think from a brewery's perspective, like it's great to see the cans, the bottles, the labeling now kind of having full malt aroma, full hop descriptions. So you can kind of encourage people to kind of get used to what the beer will taste like before they're not looking at a label at the moment. They won't understand. But definitely, I find the hops are the new fashion.
Yeah, no, that was coming across to me last week. I like I said, as I told them last week, I mean, IPAs, maybe I've never really appreciated the hops. I've been more into kind of the Belgian styles and stouts, and I suppose the lagers a bit as well, but the IPAs always threw me off a bit. And then you'd see there's so many acronyms, you kind of wonder, what the hell am I getting into? And should I try a new one, or like a DD, any IPA? It just, it can be a bit off-putting, I think, for people who just want to go and get a beer,
Yeah.
Well, you think you always have to ask yourself the hard question when you're making anything, is if you're going to put that amount of expense into the ingredients, if you get the return, it's a good decision. If you don't get the return, then you have to ask yourself, was it a good decision from a brewing point of view? You know what I mean? So you do need to ask some hard questions sometimes as a brewer.
Absolutely.
We love to be able to create exotic drinks. No point creating an exotic batch when you can't sell it, if you know what I mean. So everybody needs to be a little bit cautious and careful, is what I would give thought on that, right? Because the waste levels are so high when you're using those types of hops. The efficiencies, the utilizations, just, unless you've got a system, unless you've really had a lot of time to experiment with it, you're really only doing it for, I don't know what you're doing it for really sometimes. It can be quite it needs to be discussed in your team. Why are you doing it? What is the reason for it? And are you getting the actual value back when people see it and taste it?
Definitely. I think the dry hopping, like once you start adding up, like if you see a malt bill and hop bill of say a red ale compared to, for example, just your base nowadays, you're just a normal pale ale maybe even with a dry hop. The price is just incredibly expensive to brew it, but it doesn't reflect itself on the shelf,
You're not going to get that. The people who purchase off us the multiple super value.
They don't get that.
You've no chance of convincing them that you might have spent a small fortune on a special hop from some sort of part of Bavaria or blah blah blah, what you'd never had before. No point.
No, it's very difficult to. Also, I've found. Like we have two IPAs we brew. One is called Piper, which is kind of an amber IPA. The second one is like our session. We were looking at what beers to put into multiples, and we're kind of in negotiation with bits and pieces. But like we're saying, like if they choose the two IPAs, I mean our margins are significantly lowered. And as Fergal said there, like, Jesus, you have to really think about that. Like, why are you doing it? It's a business. Like, and the hops are so expensive, and you're appealing to a very, very small subset of people as well who will get that nuanced, aroma or flavor. Like, and the question does have to be asked: is it worth it? Now, that doesn't mean you don't experiment, but can you afford to experiment? Is the question.
Yeah, well done, Fergal. I mean, they're the types of conversations that Brian would be amazing in this environment, because the peer pressure to do something extraordinary because you think you need to do something extraordinary is inconsistent with what the business model is supposed to say to you.
Yeah.
And if you can get one of your, I mean, there's no point having 20 different varieties of the products from your brewery. You've got to get one that delivers the money. You got to get two. A lager or a pale ale or a red ale or whatever, just to deliver that you're getting 60% of that volume is going through and getting paid for it. Then you can get it maybe, once a year I might throw out a couple of seasons or a special beer, because I like to actually play in that field where I'm experimenting. But if you don't have the main volume coming through, you're
wasting your money.
Right. Well done.
Yeah,
I have this conversation with somebody who actually understands exactly that, because you need to understand that, or else you've no point opening up a brewery.
Yeah, sorry but Ronan last week from Blacks, he kind of made the same point we were discussing, and he was saying like the difficulty in getting people to buy the same beer more than twice is just, it's so hard. He said, like, the whole thing with Untapped and that, where you're trying a new beer and you're kind of just a beer, ticking it off, taking a beer, ticking it off. It's very hard. Then you are under pressure to make a new beer every week.
Don't ever let them get that pressure. Just stop it now. Just relax.
Well, unfortunately, if we let the industry go that way, it's going to remain small. Do you know what I mean? My own opinion, and I suppose I should call myself the commercial guy in the company, but I'm the person who sells the beers, and like I'm just as important, for example, in a brewery setup, or maybe some people say more important than the brewer. And unless you have a financial foothold and you're able to justify brewing very, very hoppy beers. For some breweries will get away with it because they are known for that. It's a niche. Every single new beer they put out will be bought. Unfortunately, there's 100 breweries in Ireland that do, and 98 of those breweries do not have that luxury. And from where we see it, the growth in our stable business, what we saw with our pub was that our lager was the one that sold.
Yeah,
that is exactly that is, and there's nothing wrong with that. And this is the thing that in his team of creating the best, we're not in America. We don't have that market share. So ultimately, beers are. I know for a fact that we will never ever be able to exist on just brewing those type of beers. And to be honest with you, I'm more comfortable brewing and making my money on a lager and then putting out the odd IPA if we can afford to do it. Like, or even when I say IPA, like a newer IPA or whatever from our core range, because I know now from my experience in the pub that our lager, people who drink Heineken and who drink Carlsberg or Hop House or any of those Coors Light can easily be convinced to drink your own lager. Bar the time in the tank it takes, it's certainly worth it for every brewery to try and corner their little their area where they are from, local bars on draft, and have your own lager if you can. That's in my opinion, or a stout, which is harder, but yeah, that's my own opinion. And I know people will say, well, Jesus, well, yeah.
Well done, Fergal. I mean, I just cracked open the bottle, just because just to keep that flowing. You have to do that every now and again. The commercial argument is a critical argument. This COVID pandemic thing we've just been going through, if it doesn't generate a new business commercial reality, we need to start talking quickly. This licensing laws are changing. They need to change dramatically. They're not correct. The way the on-trade works is inconsistent. It's not fair. The way the multiples get away with demanding the position they have is unfair. And there's nobody actually asking questions that want to be hard. So, we're all selling the products for the same price. Everybody's doing price isn't an issue. I mean, it's like we know everybody's keg prices are virtually the same. What's an issue is the volume, and the volumes aren't consistent with the production capability of the producers. The big ones are always going to have the multiple volume, but we can't get in the door. It costs money to get in the door, and that's the problem. Unfortunately, nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It breaks my heart. You can I can make the best beer on the planet, but I can't sell it because why? System doesn't allow you.
And what falls out on that? I mean, this is something I was wondering as well. Yeah, like COVID, I would imagine has benefited one part of the market, which is the market that's selling only, outside of pubs, but obviously has then killed the craft pubs. I mean, Fergal, you're going to have seen that most dramatically, I guess, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But I honestly think going down, and this is probably going to be very, very unpopular with a lot of people. A lot of the craft. I genuinely try. We tried our best, and always will try our best to support all the local distilleries and breweries because they need the money, very simply. But I am not your usual publican, But one of the problems we had when we opened was that we only had Guinness, and we introduced Heineken very late in our first year. I've now realised that in order for you to make people drink your beer, you need to lure them in with their usual drinks, and it's much easier to get somebody off, as I said earlier, a Heineken or a Coors or any other commercial lager onto your own stuff, but it's impossible to get them onto your own stuff if they're not in your pub. And to have exclusive craft beer pubs is fantastic, and don't get me wrong, I'm not criticising those people, but if we want to get, as Fergal alluded to a little bit, to get our beers into the general population, let's call it that, and for publicans to take craft breweries seriously, you need to have a beer that is similar to what they have been used to be drinking. It can be better, but it's similar, and you can start with that and then introduce some ales after that. But I really think a lager, as I said, commercially, in some parts of England, it can be an ale because many people, it's the beer styles, etc. But in Ireland, the reality is you can undo it like a large proportion of the population drink lager.
Seven out of every 10 serves globally is a lager. Seven. So 7 people walking in your pub will order a lager, whatever it is. Right? No matter where you are in the world, now it could be 8 or it could be 6, but average is 7. So that's 7 times whatever €5 is going to go into the till with a lager being purchased.
Yeah.
So that's it. Game, set, and match. So if you're a pub that does a business that has, let's just do the numbers. 100 people walking on a Friday night, 70 are going to buy beer. Of the 70 that buy beer, 60 buy lager. So if you haven't figured that out,
absolutely,
just like it's simple. And so hence you're only selling to 10 people on a Friday night who might want to buy a stout, an ale, or an IPA, or a sour, or a bitter, or blah, 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 blah. They're not going to do anything else. It never changes. It never will change.
And yet the most brewers, when they start off the new breweries, they're going straight to the IPAs.
They can't make a lager. You can't, I mean, an independent small craft brewery making a decent lager that's sustainable and high quality can compete with the ones from the big breweries is very difficult to do. You haven't got the systems. To have a filtration, a glycol system, chilling system, and sort of get those qualities, you've got to be extraordinarily inventive and capable of doing lagers, even though they do them. But then you're falling into the trap of, I'm doing a lager because I need to do a lager, but I can't actually make it because I don't have a brew house or I don't have a chilling system and I don't have a filter and I can't do it. So
absolutely. And one of the other issues as well is the time element. Like, like if you have 5 large tanks like we have, I mean, to produce again, it's twice the time. We take 4 weeks. I know it's probably a lot of people would say to lager it longer, but we leave it for 4 weeks.
You're lucky to get it out in 4 weeks.
What?
You're lucky to get it out in 4 weeks, if you know.
Exactly, absolutely, and we find it with Browsall, etc., and we get a decent enough. Now, to be honest with you, we probably leave it 5 weeks a lot of the time. But we find it with Browsall. Make sure the clarity's there and carbonation is right. Andrew's quite, as I said to you, I think like, and it's proven in the sales in our own pub that our lager is definitely something people like. It's a very, very soft on the palate type of lager. And a lot of people, I've always noticed when they go to Germany, they come home and say, "Oh, Jesus, the lager was gorgeous." You know, I love that type of thing, and they've no problem drinking it in Germany because Heineken and all these other products aren't available, so they love it. Or in Spain, they'll drink, Estrella and all that type of thing. I was going like, well, if they come into this pub, they're going to drink the puddle, and I'm going to try my best to get as many people onto it as possible, and it's really been successful.
Yeah, this tastes quite. This is and this is a canned version, so the on draft.
Yeah, draft is much nicer. Yeah, I know.
This is great. It does what it says on the tin. You've got your style and you got your approach. Well done. I mean, tough.
Yeah, thanks. And hats off to yourself, Fergal. I'm drinking your lager, the green one here.
Yeah.
Really, really clean. Jesus, like really clean.
Yeah, no, that's what
really, really nice.
I think I know exactly what it was supposed to do. Crisp, simple. Thank you. We have our brewing team with the capability of doing it. So, and that's the risk you take when you take on a lager is you must deliver because it's so complex to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't hide. That's what I always say with a lager. Like, there's no hiding with it. Like, you can taste. Like, I remember one time we were really under pressure to take out. We ran out of lager in the pub, and there was a batch in the tank. And I remember saying to Andrew, "Do you want to try and and I say rush it? Like I said, we want to keg off a few just to get us through the weekend." So we kegged off. Now it was clear, but when we just did one keg, we tried it, and the smell of sulphur, the green taste from having been under pressure to get it out of there, like really taught us a valuable lesson. Do you know what I mean? You
can't risk the time. You can't do that. The risk of trying to move it fast isn't going to work.
No.
Bill, we had a lager from you as well. I just want to keep the thing going because I know we're going to cut off at 4. Do I have your lager as well?
Mine, no. I'm simply the red.
Who's the Crafty Bear's IPA, West Coast?
That was just an extra. That was an extra gift.
I have them all in the fridge. I just want to keep the sort of and then we can, because it's great to, the lager conversation. Wow, it's so great to see Fergal having, being strong in his view, which is correct. You've got to, and the 2 points summarized, get the commercial thing sorted, and then, see if you've got the capability of doing it, but don't try to do the rushing job because that's never going to work.
No, we really, and it's mad, and they're just so unforgiving, Fergal.
No, you'll kill you. No, you were gone. If you don't, I've seen it happen. I mean, I've been in places where we try to do it faster than that. I mean, the fermentation can't be above 14. If it goes to 15, 16, you can try it, you can get away with it. You don't chill it back to less than 4 degrees, less than 3 degrees. You've got to get it to 1 at some stage. If you can't get it down that far, you're never going to get any of the chill haze out. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, you got to let it stay there.
I was talking to one of the lads in the Wicklow hops company there, Phil, and he was explaining. It's very good. But I was asking him, Jesus, I was explaining it to me. I think there was a yeast. I'm not sure if he does. I don't think he sells it, but there was some yeast he was using, or he was talking about that they were able. It was like a yeast that would nearly speed the primary up so fast. A lager yeast, sorry. That and apparently emitted very, very few off flavors, etc.
Well, you can try it out. I'm not trying it out.
Yeah, no, I don't have the money to try it out.
Look, it's been. If you're going to make a lager, do it like everybody's been doing lagers since the 16th, 15th century. Do the damn thing the same way. Don't allow your fermentation go beyond 13 degrees, 14 degrees max. And let it sit there and do its job. Give it a diacetyl rest at some stage if you think you need it, but let the yeast flocculate, let it come out of the solution, let it drop to the bottom, and then chill it to be Jesus so you can get it to be clear. So, I mean, it's not difficult to do if you follow the rules, but you've got to have the equipment to do the rules, and you've got to have the discipline to do the rules. And the discipline means you've got to stick at it as long as you can.
It's very funny. We were under pressure there last week to get some of the lager off for Paddy's Day, but Andrew's like a centurion. He won't let me even near the thing.
What's next on our list, Brian? Am I going for IPA or for Red?
We were going to talk about the Imperial Red, maybe.
Before
we move on there, just got a couple of questions. So Kate just actually raised something there that it's a point that, we think of lagers. First thing, probably 99% of the world think, obviously, the Heineken, the light lagers. But there are, obviously, there's dark lagers and a range of different ones. But just through Heineken that we consider, lagers to be light. And that's the only reason, really, isn't it? It's just purely that they took over and it's kind of a consideration just but there are dark lagers and different types of lagers.
Do you want to go for that, Phil, or?
Sorry, I'm actually just claiming a bit of a mess there.
No, yeah, absolutely. Look, there's again, there are plenty of styles out there, even within the lager bracket. Some of them I actually really enjoy. I enjoy a nice Vienna lager. We used to brew one ourselves. That again, as again, it's nearly a Vienna lager to people as nearly as foreign as a double IPA. So. It's, commercially again, it was great, and it was a really nice beer, and a lot of people have asked for it back, but it just didn't make commercial sense. Now it may do in the future on a smaller pilot batch, which we're looking at, and especially for the pub now when we reopen. But ultimately, the money's in beers that can be shifted fast, and ultimately the beers that people recognise, which is a. I mean, people talk about Coors and Heineken and Carlsberg. I'm just going to say very briefly, but you, as the lads have proven, for Fergal here, I just tasted the Pilsner there as well. I had it before. I had a can there for Paddy's Day. Really nice. Again, and it's not that it's my daughter there. Sorry, it's people say they're simple, etc., and all the rest of it. But drinking a very clean, decent lager, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that is the style of the beer.
I think we have another add to the thing there. Look, copying somebody from Prague, Munich, Vienna, Denmark, and lagers. Why do we have to keep on asking ourselves to be the same as somebody else? It's irrelevant. We have the greatest supply of malt in the planet in this country. That's a fact. What we don't have is any hops. But you can buy as many hops as you bloody well like. With lagers, you don't actually need too many hops. But you've got to produce a liquid that's enjoyable. Unfortunately, you walk into every single pub in this country and they've got Italian beer, French beer, German beer, Austrian beer, Dutch beer, and every other beer under the planet because everybody thinks a lager has to come from those countries. Game over. I make probably the best 2 lagers in the planet at the moment in this country, and I'm saying it because I'm boasting today.
You can have
do you know what? And I want anybody to take me on it, all right? You know, put a Heineken in front of me, any one of my 2 lagers, and we'll see who wins.
And you know what?
You don't need to be making it as somebody else made it. It just doesn't. My whole point is, you got great people here who are extraordinarily creative brewers, extraordinarily creative, understanding the whole brewing process. Just make your own lager and call it whatever you want to call it, and just tell it it's an Irish lager. God, it's an easy thing to do to call it an Irish lager.
Is there much space for kind of, like I said, innovation in lager now? It's been around so long, whereas you see all this, like I said, the IPAs and hops, and they're brewing out tasty stouts and ice cream.
The word innovation isn't consistent across it. It's 4 things: water, malt, yeast, and hops. Right, and the alcohol changes, the color can change, the hop level can change. Something else can change. That's just it's like making a burger. They all end up doing exactly what they're supposed to do. In the end of the day, make it extraordinarily refreshing. I'm enjoying that. I'm drinking that. I'm not thinking about it. I can drink 5 or 6 of them. I can just wow. It was amazing. That was a lovely session. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? When you get into let's jump into the Imperial Red, that the whole world changes, right? Okay.
Yeah. So explain. Phil, maybe you'd like to say, how would you go from the lager to the Imperial Red? Is it a different?
I don't know how you go from the lager 4% to an Imperial 8 at all.
It's definitely a game changer, that's for sure.
Just before the match, I'll then have a quick sip.
It'll keep you in good form, that's for sure. It'll keep you warm.
This will sort it out. Now, I haven't tasted it yet, but tonight I'm going to open the other ones. Okay, later on when I sit back, chill back, because anything with that amount of brute force in it or brake horsepower is going to you need to relax. Bit of food, but Phil, tell us all about it, please, because I want to hear your word.
Well, to give you the background, initially, I'm all for the lagers, I'm all for the IPAs. We're such a small brewery, and it's kind of like it'll take a bit of time before we become as big as, say, 4 provinces of Dublin City. So in the meantime, we want to leave a kind of a taste in your mouth, so to speak, so that we might only brew 300 litres or 1,000 litres, but it's going to be a decent beer either way. And that when you see it on the shelf the next time around, if it's a seasonal or if it's the IPA or it's the pale or the red, so to speak, that you'll know, okay, geez, the last time I had that red, it's not a beer that's meant to be kind of enjoyed in quantity. It's a small glass. It's a kind of a nightcap.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah. beautiful. So much caramel in it.
Well done.
Gorgeous.
Well done. That is. But you have to sit back and I need to put this in a different glass. Sorry, I'm using one of my own glasses. Yeah, you sit back later on and crack that open, because that's I didn't have one before. So that's just it doesn't taste like 8%.
Yeah, that's the feedback from a lot of people.
That's the first interesting sort of thing. It's got the body. I love the texture. Has it got wheat in it?
I actually have the malt bill here. Wheat? No wheat at all.
No wheat. No, just malt.
Just malt all the way. Nothing extravagant. As I said,
because it's got
a ruby bit of gold.
Velvet texture. I like the velvet like the texture on my mouth.
Yeah. I found with the hops, that's what I was making the comment earlier on about, people using hops like fashion. I was going through that phase in August when we created this originally last year, and I had latched on to Cashmere, which was the hop that was in at the time.
All right, okay, yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. It was my new love. Vic's Secret was the one beforehand. Cashmere now.
Actually, trying to be too bitter.
No, there was very little bittering. It was mostly all done in the whirlpool, and it was more the dry hop that kind of we aimed for.
And how long did you condition that for?
Let me see. So 2 weeks and 1. So probably look at it. I think it was 7 weeks.
I'd say
start to finish.
I'd say if you kept that,
it was a slow process.
I think you kept that there longer, it'd even get better. You know what I mean? I'm not. It's stunning, but you know what I mean. It's just
what happens with a lot of times with me is like it does get kept longer for some reason of timeline. So because I'm doing it in a smaller batch, you're getting a smaller batch of labels and so on. I could be sitting on the beer for a couple of extra days, even a week, and I'm finding that's definitely helped me in the past, especially with this beer. Well, there's no rush,
I'm having a burger later on. I have these homemade things I did. I marinated it in a stout.
Nice.
Picking up some of that sort of beer flavor. But I'm going to drink this with it, guaranteed, because that's actually perfect for that burger type thing.
If you have anything spicy that you're going to have in the next couple of days, try the IPA.
Yeah, we're going to have that. I'm going to crack that next. Can we crack that now?
Fire ahead.
Well, all I'm conscious is that we got this hour, and I want to get through all these lovely beers.
We're coming up on time, and like I said, we are kind of strict.
Sorry,
leave people wanting more. So
little gush for that one. Probably me.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully, it's you.
I feel like I'm gonna enjoy that tonight. Now I'm gonna make. I'm gonna do a little mixed grill and some salads and stuff, but I'll definitely taste that. I'm gonna try it later on, because I feel if I open it now and don't drink the whole can,
that's always the problem.
I feel like I'm gonna kind of waste it a bit. So, but I love this. The red is amazing.
Yeah,
and to me, like, that is really, really beautiful, and it's a great beer. I would definitely, if it was in our brewery, and if we were short on tank space, etc., and we were trying to. 7 weeks or 6 weeks would be, and you have to leave it that long. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be commercial for us, if we didn't have that, So, but you'd need to be nearly selling it at 3 times the price, and we both know it's very hard to get anyone to understand why. They'll just go, well, the duty is this amount. I'm expecting this increase. Like they never consider the ingredients or the hops, or the time in the tank, which is the third thing. Yeah. So look, come here, congratulations. That's beautiful. Really lovely, and I'll be enjoying another one later on.
That did well. So I went on to the summit, the IPA. That's very.
It's like something. Yeah, sorry. The names of some of the beers that I do are a bit out there. Be honest, they're kind of they're life situations that have happened. So
it's like no, I think well done. We're not getting into the concepts of that. That's got a little citrus element to it.
Yeah, it'd be a lot. So that batch was done in the new set of tanks that I managed to brew in for the first time this year, and I noticed because the pressure as well. Like I was brewing under pressure beforehand, but it wasn't, I suppose, as strong as these new tanks, and the aroma has definitely stayed tenfold. And I was always, so this batch normally gets split. Half of it goes to bottles to one client, and half of it goes to cans for off sales. And this time around, because of the post being closed, I didn't go so many with the bottles versus cans. So it's more can orientated. And I used to always love the bottle versus the can, but like now I've moved a bit more to the can. The aroma on this batch was solid, 100%. But yeah, the brewing under pressure was a kind of a first for me this time around. Any thoughts on?
You know, when you're into it, when you do with IPAs, you have to be in the mood. I think, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We might have been spoiled by having your red first.
Yeah, I think we went a little bit kind of around and back.
I'm sort of finding the hop level to it a little bit. I mean, just you and me speaking now. So I don't really mind telling you, but I'd switch a little of the hop levels there a little bit in the context of it's citrusy coming through. There's something coming through that's sort of giving me like, oh, why is that there? But I understand. I've had IPAs like this already all over the world and like this. I'm like, oh, why is that there to the other ones as well? That maybe just me not like, being like, oh, I prefer it some other way.
Yeah.
That's the complications of making beers with extra flavors, because there's one thing that always sort of gets you. That either you love it or you
it's citra forward in a sense that I did a lot of traveling to Bruges in the last couple of years, and what I did find that I'd love to recreate over here, though naturally the expense wouldn't be there, would be to, each beer had its own glass.
Yes.
And that to me, that blew my mind,
Oh yeah, you have to have that's what the Belgians do. I mean,
yeah.
go to a bar,
and they do it right.
Yeah, perfect. I remember being in a bar in Brussels a few years back, and I had been probably more Irish bars in the world than most people have ever been in because of the job I had. Right, I actually probably have a world record of being in Irish bars across the planet. Now, people might have been in the bar more than I've been in the bar, but I've been in more Irish bars all over the planet because I had to go in and verify that somebody who poured a pint of Guinness actually knew what he was doing. The number of times they didn't know what they were doing, I won't tell you about. But anyway, but in Brussels, just to the point you were making, we ordered some local beer. And what he did was he put it into a glass, he put it onto a tray, and he delivered it to the table in the glass from the brewery on the tray and dropped it down. Now, my reference to the detail was the tray broke my heart because he had to serve it from the tray, which was like a very difficult thing for the bartender to do because he wasn't just bringing it down and dropping it down. He actually put it on the tray, brought the tray down, and then did this in front of everybody. And I'm going, you know what? That has to be the best beer experience I've had in years because they spent an awful lot of time thinking about how I was going to enjoy something. They didn't know who I was or anything like that at all, but the point was that they just the atmosphere that he created, the environment he created meant that that beer was elevated beyond good because of that experience I had. So serving it when you said in Bruges or Brussels, when they do that, stunning. So we have in the pub is that element of delivery to the
doesn't exist.
The customer. Well, it doesn't exist at the moment, but it should. We should start get better at what we do. For God's sake, we make great beers. Just get better at what we do. And
that's
we shouldn't be trying to copy anybody.
Yeah,
Stop.
I agree.
That's the reason behind it. As you were saying, you're getting something a bit more forward with that beer.
Yeah.
And my making originally of that IPA was that it will be a little bit more hop forward than it should be, in a sense that yes, it is overly hopped. Within your normal 8 to 11 grams max.
I'm sort of just when you started up the conversation at the beginning, when I said to you worrying about stouts, IPAs, I'll be very worried about them too in my own head because I haven't done one yet.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah.
But they create an awful lot of conversation, which is what you need to do when you're in the beer industry. Whenever beer, the good thing about holding this conversation is that it's one of probably the only products that is made anywhere in the planet that everybody has an opinion on. Okay? So if you're making something that nobody has an opinion on whether you make baked beans or not, or, brown bread or whatever. But everybody has an opinion on what you do as a brewer. Thank God we actually are brewers, because you know what? They're always talking about us.
You can't be thin-skinned, Fergal. And it's amazing. I remember being at the start going like, geez, I'd be really pissed off if this fella doesn't like the beer, or you know what I mean. But now I fucking laugh. I find it brilliant. I say, look, okay, I don't like that style. I just thought, well, look, I always say, look, people would. When I started doing tastings, if they haven't done them in about 2 years, obviously, but in store, like you come up, and a woman would look at you and they'd put on this kind of face, going, and I just couldn't. I said, after a few times that happened, and I said to myself, you know what? And that really taught me an important lesson. People want to drink what they're used to, and commercially in my head, I was going, okay, Jesus, you know what? We need to brew a lager. I said, but it is so funny. Like, if you hand somebody a glass of red wine when they're expecting to drink a rosé, do you know what I mean? That's the kind of mouth. That's what happens. There's so many.
You just reminded me of a predicament that occurred to me once upon a time. I'm probably old enough in the tooth now to be able to get away with saying this, but there was a bar in Montreal, I think, in Canada, that I had to visit years and years ago, and it was one of the biggest selling Guinness bars in Montreal. And I didn't know any of this, but the salesperson was bringing me down to visit this bar. We go to the bar. It was quiet because we went early in the day, and the gentleman who ran the bar pointed out to me he had 2 Guinness taps. He had the one down this part of the bar and the one down this part of the bar. And I said, "Oh, why do you have that?" "Well, this one is the one that your company, your distributor tells me I'm supposed to serve it in, and this is the one I serve it in." And I go, "Oh, I mean, what do you mean from a cold plate, from the cold room downstairs? You've got to put it through the spout, and you've got to serve it the way that you told me and you have the video of." And I go, "Oh, and this one? Well, this is the one that's the warm keg under the tap here, and I just pour it and it comes out like that." "Oh, and which one sells most?" He says, "That one." I'm going, "How does that happen?" Well, I tell them, going, "You're supposed to do it this way, in theory, because that's the way the world does it. But in your bar, this one works better. So I'm in this predicament. What do I do?" So how do I tell an owner of the pub that that way, maybe a couple of generations before I was born, and this way is the way normal people do it now, but you only want it to be served that way, do you? So I said, "Give me one from each to taste." So he did that. And what did I say?
Keep doing what you're doing.
I didn't. No, you see, when you're in a bar at a place like this in the middle of Montreal, outside your jurisdiction, you said, "Do you know what? They're both absolutely wonderful." Right? Absolutely gorgeous. And whoever comes in here and orders whatever they want, as long as they go out of here, I said to him, as long as they go out of here saying they'll be back, that's all you have to do. Right? Now, whether he was technically right, or whether I should have said, "I'm going to shut you down because I have the authority," sort of like, "Don't serve it that way," or "Don't serve it that way." Sometimes you have to actually recognize that the publican's opinion and the fact that he thought he knew he was talking about is correct. So it was an interesting learning, and I was in a predicament. I didn't want to upset the salesman, and he was doing about 20 kegs a week through this place. Whether it was that one or that one, I didn't really. I mean, so what do you do? knowing the fact that I told the salesman, listen, you know what's going to happen here in a few years' time, don't you? That one will be gone. But let him lose that tap gracefully. Don't annoy him. Just allow him to understand that eventually the cold Guinness with the nitrogenated system at the back will actually be the one that people will prefer. But just don't panic him. Don't upset him. But I always remember it being asking myself the question: should I actually have stood up to my job role to ensure that everybody everywhere got the greatest pint of Guinness, blah, 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 blah? Or should I just understand that, you know what, he thinks he's got it, and help him understand that maybe there's a change needs to happen? So in our world of operating in the beer industry, we're going to get certain amazing little predicaments like that. You know, the people prefer the IPA, the people prefer the pale ale, the people prefer the stouts, the people prefer the Guinnesses, people prefer the other stouts. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's why it's so much fun. And that's why well done to everybody for being in the beer industry, because you know what? There isn't anything better.
Excellent. Listen, that's, I think, a great point, because we're already well over an hour, so I'll let you go. So that's probably a great point to finish on.
Red ale later, yeah?
Yeah. But, so let me just say thanks again to everyone. Look, I think in my case, again, the hour just flew by. It just disappeared.
Apologies for being late, by the way. My technical malfunction was...
No problem. You made up for it. So listen, just a couple of things so before we go. One is you all agreed to give very generously some beer. So I'm going to call out, there's loads of chats in here that we didn't even get close to dealing with because there was enough going on. But so Neil White, Paul Gartland, Derek Murphy, Carl O'Neill, and Brendan Sewell. So look out over the next couple of weeks. I'll send you an email and get your details and pass it on to the lads. It'll be potluck, which one you get, but whichever one you get will be
big
good.
Shout out to Carl there as well. Good to see him. He's a big supporter of ours down in Morton's and Ranelagh. Thank you, Carl.
Excellent.
Oh, you got some fans there. Well done. I must get some.
Don't worry, Fergal. They'll flock to you now after this.
I'm not so sure I need that just yet. You know, trying to stay incognito. These sort of publicity is very bad to
me. So listen, we have this is the fourth one we've done, so they've been going very nicely. We're taking a break next week, and then we're back with a whole series of stuff that's coming up, which I think will be very interesting. We're having a session on cider, because craft cider is taking off as well and doesn't get half the attention that beer does. So we're going to have a session on cider. Then we have one with Killarney, Bullhouse and Lineman. Then the following week, which is April the 17th, we're going to have Trouble will be back with us. Dundalk will be joining. And we have a Belgian brewer, Peak Brewery, will be coming in as well. So that could be interesting. And then we have actually two really exciting weeks. You're probably familiar with the Kvike yeast. That's kind of taken the world by storm. So the guy who kind of brought that to attention is Lars Marius Garschall, and he's going to come on. He's been talking a lot about, he's basically expert in kind of farmhouse brewery, and he's found out part of his stuff that he's been doing for 10 years is Lithuanian farmhouse beers, where they've retained a unique culture and a unique way of brewing, unique processes, the whole lot. So he's going to come on, talk to us, and he's going to bring on Simonas Gutautas from, I pronounce this, Dundalis Brewery in Lithuania as well. So we're going to have a good thing of actually very unique brewing methods. So if you're interested, that should be a good 2 sessions full of information. See where we're going from that. So I hope everyone's going to join us. There's nothing next week, but this replay will be up on the site sometime later today, and it'll stay there for a week or so. And I think we'll leave it at that. I want to say thanks to everyone again for taking part. Thanks to Phil, Fergal, and Fergal.
Hey.
You enjoyed it. I had a great time.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Brian,
thanks a million.
Phil. Thanks. Nice. Fergal.
Good luck. Take it easy.